Welcome back, gang, and my name is Lubanti Tlabati, and right now we are about to check Blood and Water Season 2. My initial reaction and thoughts. This will be the most honest review that you'll ever find on YouTube about the show. Without wasting any more time, let's just jump straight into it.
So we kick things off with the figure having hallucinations of Puleng joining her in a pool. To cope with all the drama she's been involved in, her parents bring in Janet, the school's new therapist. We get introduced to Sam, who's more or less my favorite character, a new student at Parkhurst who's a motorcyclist. We get a glimpse into Reese's life at home, where her mom seems to be suffering from an illness, and Reese reveals that she hasn't been taking her pills. I felt like they're trying to flesh out Reese's character because she was pretty much a blank slate in season 1. Back at home, Puleng and her family get visited by a cop, informing them that Figile and her parents filed a restraining order against Puleng so that she can stay away from Figile. Mixed Entitlement gets retrenched by the magazine team, and our boy Wade is now the new editor for the team, but the social anxiety and low self-esteem just makes him look and feel like a joke, a downgrade even. Sam nearly runs over Figile with his bike on his way to school. Puleng's parents, being frustrated by the news they just received, decide to confront the principal about the issue, but she tells them that her hands are tied, she's not above the law. Things get heated as Puleng demands an answer from Figile as to why they filed a restraining order against her. The confrontation catches everyone's eyes as the corridors are jam-packed. Phones are out, but Figile doesn't give her a straight answer. Side note, KB's song that he recorded in season 1 is apparently a hit now, because that's how SoundCloud works here at Mzansi, showcasing that with little talent and plot convenience, you too, aspiring rapper, can record a song and 3 weeks later it will be playing on the radio without actually marketing it whatsoever and having connections to actually get radio play. Figile bumps into Sam and he gives the most odd pickup line I've ever heard.
You almost ran me over with your bike this morning.
Look, I was just trying to get your attention, and I guess it worked.
Cause apparently in 2021 we're riding over Hans to get their attention. But the pickup line works and she's flattered by this. But Chris isn't. Miss Entitlement questions her words to her mom as she wonders as to why she got retrenched from her role as the newspaper editor. And her mom tells her that you gotta humble yourself and don't be a prick to people. She acknowledges that her daughter is deserving of the retrenchment, as Uncle Ben once said,
"Remember, with great power comes great responsibility."
Figile has a moment with Sam as he tricks her into drowning and he comes to her aid. Chris sees this because of plot convenience and tries to fight Sam, but Sam's like, it was a prank, he's a part of the swimming team now. Plus he tells Chris that if he wants to be the tough guy around him just because he's new, he'll catch these hands, in which Chris punches Sam and he's sent to the principal's office. Also, Chris, his side chick, or side dude, and Uzama are in some weird love triangle. She meets a dude called Legs, who gives her his business card to see if she's really interested in selling some real drugs and not just some weak shit. Figile and Sam share another moment as Sam recalls what happened by the pool and indirectly flirts with her, showing some confidence, which Figile is flattered by. He should really give Wade a lesson or two. Figile and her dad share a moment, which leads to a convo about her as a child hitting her head against the pool wall, and her parents couldn't help with blood donations as both of them weren't her blood type. This indirect confession sends Figile on a strange path as it's slowly becoming evident to her that her parents aren't who they say they are. Puleng lies to KB about investigating Figile, and she gets kidnapped in KB's garage by some strange man. That strange man turns out to be KB's dad, and she lies to them about why he's on a KB's car, and they buy into her lies. Figile calls Puleng so then they can do the DNA test, which gives Puleng some hope. Puleng gets grounded for skipping school and coming back home late. It just so happens to be KB's birthday, and to celebrate, she thinks it's a good idea that they host it at KB's old crib, where his father's old archives are at. Reese also chips in on the action and sees this as the opportunity to be the supplier. Puleng tries to use Wade for her own benefit, but he's not falling for it, cause he's a real nigga now. But he decides to throw that all away to be in the friend zone again. Damn. You know, right when I thought our boy Wade is winning in life, he takes a ticket straight to simp hood again. Meanwhile, our smooth criminal Sam manages to grow closer to Ofigile as she wants him to take her to the prison to meet the lady that signed her birth certificate. She's hesitant in giving up info like how she did Wade and requests that Figile gives her data. Then she decides to talk. When Buleng shows her a pic of KB's father, she all of a sudden gets shocked as if her name was written in the death note and warns Figile not to return to her. Smooth Criminal takes Figile home and she receives a notification saying her DNA results have arrived. People arrive at the party and basically Zama dumps Chris and Mark somewhat breaks up with him as well. Buleng tries to recover those old archives but KB stops her as he's been looking for her the entire time. He questions her emotions as she's been acting strangely after they had sex, but reassures him that she's okay. It just so happens that our sim boy Wade was listening onto this like a sore loser. Reese's drugs are selling like crazy and orders more from Lex. Wade decides to take a chance and asks out Sahira on a date in which she agrees. Figile pulls Buleng aside to reveal the results in which they come back negative because the plot can be resolved on the second episode. Buleng's a disbelief over the test results, but is still optimistic that they're in fact sisters, so she takes Figile just so she can give her journal back. She also asks Zama to get a hold of her cousin, who was a cop, to see if he can help out. She's hesitant, but later agrees. Smooth Criminal gets into a group project with Figile in which Chris is pretty much the third wheel, and I'm loving it. Our boy Wade manages to score his first kiss with Sahira, and I'm like,
my nigga.
KB confronts Wade about how Buleng has been acting weird lately and if he knows anything, and he's like, nah, this is their first convo with one another, so it's kinda awkward. Reese's drug business is blooming, to say the least. There's a career day function at school where KB's dad is giving a speech on how law is interesting and whatnot. Figile gives Buleng the journal and tells her to stay away from her. She finds out who the cop was that was in charge of the investigation and rushes over to the police station. Figile and Smooth Criminal share a moment which is interrupted by Smooth Criminal's mom, and Figile gets to know who Janet really is. It's the typical awkward yet cheesy moment where boyfriend and girlfriend meet mom, that type of stuff. Zama calls Buleng, telling her that her cousin managed to get a hold of a cop who was fired 17 years ago from his job, never to be seen again. I mean, they didn't even work on the same case or at the same police station. I guess each cop knows one another in Cape Town for some apparent reason. The cop tells them what led to him being fired for corruption and how Buleng's investigation was similar to his. He warns them how dangerous this is. They need to play their cards correctly. It is also revealed that Buleng's mother cheated on her dad, so technically her father is being trialed for a child that possibly couldn't be his. Oh, and KB's dad takes away his music equipment to teach him responsibility or whatnot, telling him that law is way better than music, you know, the typical follow in my footsteps talk. But KB's like, school's temporary, but the drip is forever. I wish he said that. That would have been so dope. Lions are closing in for the law internship application and Sahira is most likely to win it. But our protagonist is like, nah, I need to find out how KB's dad is involved in the kidnapping. Hits up KB and uses him as the back door, even though applications have closed. She's in grade 10 and the application is for grade 11s and 12s. Wade and Buleng are grouped together for an LO assignment, basically co-parenting an egg. Wendy and her team decide to create a tea party as a fundraiser. Reese sees the opportunity to squeeze drugs into it and everyone is on board. KB confronts Wade as he assumes Wade is stealing his girl and Wade is like, nigga, I got better things to do than entertain your BS. Figile's grandma arrives and automatically gives off sketchy vibes. Reese's mother steals the money Reese has been saving up from the drugs at school and decides to spend it on shoes. Freaking shoes. I give up. Buleng's parents are debating over should they read her journal or not, but her little brother is like, that's invasion of privacy, and they let it go. Puleng deliberately spills coffee on the receptionist to gain access to her card to enter KB's father's office. Later that night, they start investigating as Zam is on the lookout, which is evident that apparently employees check in and not check out of this company. Damn, the writers are really throwing logic out the window for plot convenience. Meanwhile, Smooth Criminal is teaching Fikile how to serve, and their bond grows even closer. At the tea party, Chris and Reese make space muffins for the students and regular muffins for the parents. Wendy mistakenly gets a space muffin as a form of peace offering between her and Chris. Wade confronts Puleng about how she cheated her way into the internship when Sahira was the one most deserving. KB interferes, shoves Wade, and throws an egg at him as he walks away. Wade's like,
"Oh, hell no!"
Wade snaps and legit becomes Jean-Claude Van Damme and beats the living crap out of KB. And I'm watching all this like,
Damn! Where the ambulance? Why the man body still right there? Ain't supposed to be laying there. Call the damn ambulance!
Wade went from being a simp to a real nigga into a bad boy. Anyone who disagrees can catch him outside and catch these hands. All of this is happening and the principal is also high on space muffins. Smooth Criminal is getting some alone time with the Figile and they end up kissing and I'm like, salute bruh, salute. Janet finds drugs that Reese put in Smooth Criminal's blazer and she's furious and confronts him in the morning about it. Smooth Criminal is like, I'm not back on drugs, I won't put you through that again. Janet wants to know who sold him the drugs and he's like, nah, I ain't no snitch, and he dips like a badass. Wade and Puleng have to explain to their LO teacher what happened to the egg and they basically argue on what happened like a divorced couple. Meanwhile, drugs are found in the girls' toilet and the principal decides to advise the teachers on keeping their heads up because she was also drugged. One of the teachers recognizes the drugs from somewhere and Reese is called in for questioning and shit basically hits the fan for her. Janet asks for the footage of Puleng's whereabouts on her first day at her workplace as she fears that she might be catching up to them. Fikile finds disturbing WhatsApp messages between KB's father and her mom, giving detail that the DNA results were altered to keep their identity safe. Fikile, shocked, meets up with Puleng and tells her that her mom might have a hand in altering the DNA results between her and Puleng. Puleng's in disbelief but manages to get a hold of the doctor who ran the DNA tests. As Janet watches the tape analyzing what she was up to, Reese's mother manages to get her treatment, but she curses her out. It would have been better if they at least told us what her illness is. KB's father tells her to go to school and that he must break things up with the Puleng cause she's not really worth it. Chris plans another fundraiser with his crew as Reese gets called in for questioning in the principal's office. Reese is appointed to find out who's the drug dealer at school, when in fact his teacher wants in on the action and decides to deceive the principal. Puleng tries to get a hold of Wade and tell her what happened with the DNA results, but Wade basically gives her the cold shoulder. Janet plants the drugs that he took from Smooth Criminal's blazer into Puleng's bag to frame her as she's catching up to their secrets. She gets apprehended at school and is forced to do a drug test in which Janet makes sure that the results come back positive to get her expelled from school. Puleng and Fikile meet up with the doctor and he's the most stereotypical, sketchy and obvious I want to rape you type of person I've ever seen in South African cinema. He tells them that he wants 5k from them to double check the results and they're hesitant at first but they comply. I would have told him to jump off a cliff for all that I care. Puleng's parents are called in and it's revealed that MDMT was found in her blood and that she needs immediate rehab and her parents believe this. Puleng, seeing that they're short on money, decides to steal his brother's money and escapes the household as they're ganging up on her. KB meets up with the youngster CPT in the studio and to my surprise, Nasty C doesn't exist in this universe. I thought that Youngster was gonna play someone else, but nope, he's playing himself, and they record a track with KB. So Chris's fundraiser is going according to plan, and people are actually participating in the auction. Meanwhile, Puleng and Fikile meet up with the "I want to rape you" doctor in the most typical greedy sketch location as possible. It's a bit cliche. They tell him that they're short by 200 plus rand. Being frustrated by this, he offers that one of them gives him head in exchange for the DNA results. They're hesitant, but Puleng agrees only to pepper spray him in the eyes while Fikile kicks the other guy's nuts, and they run off with the results. They decide to open the results, and in fact, they are sisters. It's a wholesome moment for Puleng, but Fikile is gut-wrenched as she's not as excited as Puleng is. She tells Puleng to keep him between them and not to tell others because she wants to be precise about everything. Puleng attends the fundraiser and gets a hold of Uzama and Wade, telling them that indeed Fikile and her are sisters, kind of breaking the promise that she made to Fikile. Meanwhile, KP decides to drop a diss track towards Puleng and Wade, and it's the funniest shit ever.
Oh yeah, that's right, you didn't act right. You were just a quick fix, so I just fixed in the spotlight, on the plain sight. Plain disappear with him, you a slick chick.
The diss track is basically telling people that Puleng basically belongs to the streets, and it's honestly cringe-worthy. Like, man, like, KB, bruh, you need better ghostwriters, or in fact, like, you need better script writers, cause damn, whoever wrote your diss track, damn, I need to fire that person. Smooth Criminal, on the other hand, manages to talk to Fikile, and she reveals that Puleng and her are sisters. Smooth Criminal is shocked by this and puts 1 and 2 together and confronts her mom about the entire scandal. Puleng, back at home, is arguing with her parents, and as she's being taken away, she reveals that her long-lost sister is alive and she's Fikile. Fikile confronts her mom about the whole kidnapping saga, and she admits that yes, indeed, she kidnapped her.
Listen. Playing was right this entire time. I didn't give birth to you. I am still your mother. Mother, you kidnapped me. You're my kidnapper. You kidnapped me. Don't touch me. Please, listen to me. Just give me a chance.
Detectives arrive to Puleng's household and interrogate her as they don't feel as if her evidence is enough to prove her investigation true. Fikile tells her mom that the only way she'll forgive her is for her to tell her husband the truth about the abduction. KB later regrets making the diss track as he still has feelings for Puleng. Side note, Tahira breaks up with Wade over the diss track KB made about him and Puleng, as she still feels as if Wade has feelings for Puleng. Fikile apologizes to Miss Entitlement for ditching her as she made a fool out of herself during the auction. She later confronts KB about the diss track, and KB is filled with more regret. That was a stupid move, honestly speaking. The teacher that was on board with the action with Reese has resigned with immediate effect and is left with the money that the gang made from the fundraiser. So Reese is in a sticky situation. Fikile's mom deletes all the evidence connecting her to the abduction. KB's dad pays the "I want to rape you" doctor to leave town before the cops call him in for interrogation. Puleng and Wade are called into the principal's office for interrogation to confirm Puleng's investigation true with all their whereabouts. Reese catches flame as Miss Entitlement sees that the budget sheet doesn't quite add up and she has a hard time covering up for her lies. Fikile and Puleng are called in for questioning, but Fikile denies knowing about the DNA test and everything that has happened prior. Puleng later confronts Fikile on why she lied, and Fikile tells her that they had a deal to not tell anyone, when in fact she told Smooth Criminal about it, so there's a bit of some hypocrisy there. Reese later opens up to Chris about the stolen money and he's not pleased, but they make a vow to not involve the police. But she has to tell Winnie about the entire scandal, as Chris is the one who vouched for her to be the group's treasurer. Fikile's mom holds her daughter hostage apologizing to her about the abduction as the police are apprehending his innocent husband. The husband being innocent in this entire scandal is so clueless when the police are apprehending him. Wendy and Chris have a heart-to-heart moment, which is later interrupted by Reese, who chooses that now is the time to confess about the stolen money, in which Wendy is not pleased. Figile's mom locks herself inside her room, gun in hand, pleading that the police let her speak to Figile and apologize to her. And honestly, I feel no empathy. I'm not sympathetic towards her. I mean, because if the truth never came out, then they would have carried on with the lie until God knows when. So to me, as she's crying, she's pretty much crying crocodile tears to me. KB and his dad arrive, and he tells Figile's mom to not say a word since he's practically their lawyer. Bullen confronts her mom for cheating on his dad, and guilt trips her for persecuting her husband for a crime that he didn't commit. See, I was right. It's always the fathers who are culprits in these types of instances. It's never the mother. Through a chat with Ofigile, KB finds out that they're in fact sisters and that Wade was helping Bullen this entire time with the investigation. Feeling guilty, he visits her and apologizes for the false accusations and the diss track. By doing so, he finds a picture of her mom on Bullen's bed and questions her as to what is she doing with it, cause she pretty much ghosted them when he was still a kid. KB wants to know if his mom is a part of this entire scandal, and Bullen claims that she doesn't know. Figile's mom is being interrogated and all she wants is to free her husband as KB's dad barges in before she slips up. Bullen and his family take a DNA test, keep the details in mind as it will be important at a later stage. She meets up with Wade and she thinks that KB's mom might be a part of the entire scandal, as the sketch that the police drew after the entire scandal does match the picture of KB's mom. She then tells KB in fact that she believes that her mom is a part of all of this, and KB is just devastated. Wendy covers up for the flops that Reese made as treasurer, as the principal keeps asking if everything is okay. Reese receives news that her mom will be discharged due to insufficient funds, and then she opens up to Chris about the entire thing. Wade later asks Bullen out on a date, and she agrees. Figile's dad confronts KB's dad on how they could keep the secret away from him this whole time. KB later confronts his dad about the scandal, and he has no time for him, as his primary want is to free Figile's mom from the case. A mysterious man that has been stalking Janet breaks into her home, knocks her down, and steals the DNA kit and the laptop and leaves. A fundraiser at Parkhurst helps Wendy and Chris raise some money for their matric dance. Wade and Bullen's date goes well, and they end up making out, and honestly, I don't know how to feel about this scene. I don't know if I should be happy for Wade or not. It's just, I'm conflicted about this scene, honestly speaking. Bullen and her family receive the DNA results, stating that indeed, Ofigile is the daughter of Bullen's mom, and they're in fact half-sisters with Bullen, as Bullen's father isn't the real father, which alludes to the cheating allegations being true. Ofigile is shocked and disappointed about the news, as her biological father still remains a mystery. KB gives Bullen a letter from his mom to his dad, which gives a hint as to why she left. Figile's mom receives no bail and is sentenced to prison. The matric dance is a disaster, as the starters are pretty much a joke. The party is saved as DJ Mapresa makes a cameo as himself and lights up the dance floor, as KB is the one who actually booked him for the matric dance. The van carrying Figile's mom/kidnapper is followed by a strange SUV. At the storage room, KB tells Bullen about wanting to take the letter to the police station, as it could be evidence for the case. He then regrets on how they broke up with the Bullen, and they eventually start kissing, and I'm like... Reese later goes to the principal and confesses about her being the actual drug dealer. And that's pretty much it. Like, there's no repercussions. We don't get a principal's reaction.
she just confesses, and that's pretty much it. We move on, I guess. The matric dance is cut short as Figila's dad takes her away, telling her that her mom/kidnapper has been kidnapped herself. And this scene feels rushed as we don't actually see the kidnapping happen, so their words don't hold that much of weight. The kidnapping happens off screen, so we just take their word for it, I guess. It is then revealed that KB's mom, Lisbeth, is the one behind this entire scandal and is the one who actually kidnapped Figila's kidnapper. The end. What I liked about season 2 would be the character development. Reese, for example, as I've stated in part 1, that in season 1, Reese was pretty much a blank slate. Like, she was just two-dimensional and was just pretty much there to just occupy space and nothing much. But in season 2, we get to see why, like, he's selling drugs, the struggles, and like, give her a bit of depth as a character. And at some points, I did feel a bit, sympathetic towards her, and that was a great choice for the writers to do, because if Reese just pretty much stayed the same as season 1, then she would have been like irrelevant. Wendy also has great character development. From season 1, like, I didn't like her. She was too entitled, always trying to play the victim, always trying to be the #freedom fighter when she's just spoon-fed, and she just felt forced as a character. And like, I've never met a person who says they liked Wendy at all. So when season 2 came, she was still pretty much of a prick, but the convo with her mom really helped, and she started being more humble, more open to suggestions, and just not always calling the shots. Do I still like her though? I don't. But she has progressed as a character. It's Chris. Chris in season 1, he's pretty much of a playboy, that type of life. And within season 2, like, he's still a playboy, but I feel like the breakup with Mark and Uzama really helped him, see his true colors, that he's pretty much a prick to people, and that, and him being grouped with Wendy it really helped them both, as they're pretty much pricks in their own world, and then when a prick meets another prick, they see each other for who they are. So by the time the season 2 ended, like, Chris did grow in me. Pause. As do I still like him though? Pause again. No, I don't. But he did grow as a character, if I'm being honest with myself. Then there's Wade. Wade is by far, to me, I feel like he's, from the OG cast, he's my favorite character, because he's just relatable, and he's just a genuine person. When the show starts, he's a complete simp. I've mentioned that I don't know how many times. But then as the show goes on, he still has that social anxiety, but there are moments where you root for him. You went from being a simp to being a real nigga to being a bad boy, and like, he's like really grown as a character, and I'm proud of him. And that's pretty much it. On the note of character development, I feel like Ofigile, to me, has not grown as a character. She's such a passive protagonist. And what I mean when I say passive, like, okay, name me one critical decision that Ofigile has made the entire show. There is any. That's the point. Side characters make choices for her, and Ofigile is the main focus of the show. Is she really sisters with the bullying? But there's a bit of detachment, as like, she's just so indecisive. Characters are making choices for her, and it's really hard investing in her, because she just plays like, the victim every single opportunity she gets. And it's like, playing the victim at times just rubs off the wrong way. And like, it's just like, the only time she has taken a critical decision was when she was confronting her mom, and even then she screwed that up, because then she let her mom persuade her into apologizing, and she slept back at home and all that. And I was like, what's the point of confronting your mom if you're still gonna be like, okay, I understand, it's like, you kidnapped me and all. It's like, I mean, also with Upuleng Naye, I feel like she's like not that interesting of a lead. And not to shade like Ama, like her performance, she really does perform as Upule. It's just that like she just doesn't hold that much of weight as a character, you know. She remains the same. Upuleng from season 1 and season 2 is pretty much the same. Like she doesn't grow except for like, you know, relationships and the scandal that she has with Figil, and that's pretty much it. Another part I didn't like was the abandoned subplots. For example, we could have seen where the clinic calls Reese and tells her that they're about to discharge her mom because of insufficient funds, and then it pretty much just ends there. Like we don't get any conclusion to that subplot. It just says your mother is sick, we can't help her. That's pretty much it. Then you just move on. You know, it just feels kind of empty. It just feels rushed in a way. Also, of the confession that Reese made to the principal, I mean, she had a meeting with the teachers and told them that she was also drugged, and she also made it clear that whoever sells narcotics is bound to be expelled. But then we don't get that, you know, scene with the Reese. She just confesses and then we just move on, you know, so that kind of felt a bit empty and rushed. Also with Chris's parents, at first we were like, okay, we're gonna get a glimpse as to, you know, how dysfunctional of a home they are, but then they just make a cameo for like 2-3 scenes and then they just dip, but then they don't make it, you know. It's just like they were just there for that moment and just left. You know, they're pretty much also irrelevant to the plot. They don't bring anything new to the plate. Also, do you all remember that Upuleng is also an intern at the law firm? Don't know if you remember that. She only worked there for less than a day, and then that was pretty much it. She didn't, you know, so that also felt like an abandoned subplot or just another plot convenience. She was just there for that day, and then she just dipped, and then, you know, there was no repercussions for her stealing the receptionist card, you know, breaking into KB's father's office. They were just like, she stole the files, got away with it, you know. That's pretty much it. Another part that I didn't like about the series would have to be the plot convenience, and a character who's falls victim the most to this is Upuleng. I'm just going to use one example. The first episode. If Upuleng never accepted the invite to the party and never met Wade, would the plot even exist? And the answer is no. Like, out of all the parties that they could have went to, he meets a guy who tells her that she looks exactly like the birthday girl, and it turns out to be true at the end. It all just feels like a big convenience, because what happens if they went to another party and Rufigila wasn't there and Wade wasn't there? Then the plot would have never even started in the first place. I can also use other examples, but I'm just gonna end it there. Like, the plot convenience just ruins the show for me. Another problem that I have with the show would have to be the final episode. To me, the involvement of Lisbeth just ruins the show for me. I mean, the basic premise of the show is that Figile and Puleng sisters, and it turns out that they're actually half sisters. So the conflict and the premise is more or less resolved. But then the introduction of Lisbeth just ruins that for me. I mean, how I would have went about it is that KB's dad gets arrested for the affiliation. Figile's mom gets arrested, and it stays that way. She doesn't get kidnapped and whatnot. And everybody who's more or less involved and affiliated in this just gets arrested. And Figile gets to know, or not to know, her biological father. You know, have a bittersweet but concise conclusion to your premise. When you start adding characters and hoping for a third season, it just feels as if like they're just milking the show at this point.
And there you have it, guys. That's my take on Blood and Water. Am I hyped for season 3? Not quite, but then we'll just see how the show goes. Honestly, I feel like they're just milking the show at this point because the conflict could have been resolved by the final episode of season 2. But nonetheless, guys, hope you enjoyed the review. And I know I still have to check out Squid Game. It's highly recommended I check it out. And Sex Education, I still have to peep that also. So guys, bear with me, and those reviews will be coming in the nick of time. But until then, it's your boy Lubanzi Tlabati, and guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Until then, guys, take care.